Did you know that baby Pokemon get banned in competitive play? There is a competitive format called Little Cup, where only the first stage in a Pokemon's evolution line can be used. All Pokemon are also locked at level 5 in this format. Some of the top tier threats in this exciting rule set include Abra, Diglett, and Coughing. Frightening creatures indeed. But sometimes certain baby Pokemon in the Little Cup format can be too powerful, and these delinquents have to be sent off to a juvenile detention center. Let's go over every single banned baby Pokemon in every generation of Little Cup. Now, even though Gen 5 was the beginning of Little Cup being played on Smogon and the older gens actually established their Little Cup formats later, I think this will be easier to follow if we just go in order of the generations. Starting from Gen 1, finishing with Gen 9. But first, thank you to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. As someone who spends hours working at a computer every day, I've wanted to invest in a standing desk for a while, and the FlexiSpot E7 standing desk really is amazing. Standing desks have a lot of benefits. Spending too much sedentary time on the computer can be hard on the back, and it's also easy to feel stuck in the same position. With a standing desk, movement is encouraged. You can stretch a little bit while walking. You feel better, you're more productive. It's easy to unconsciously start slouching when you're sitting down. If you're standing up, that naturally just doesn't happen. So the FlexiSpot E7 standing desk is a lifesaver. It makes standing up while working easy, but at the same time, if I want to sit down and work for a little bit, I have that option too. This desk has adjustable height, and I can switch between sitting or standing at the click of a button. This also accommodates different people's heights perfectly, with the freedom to adjust it to whatever height is comfortable for you. The E7 is really stable as well, even while it's moving. As you can see, these coins aren't wobbling at all, even as the desk moves up and down. The E7 also has an impressive 355-pound weight capacity. Here I am lying down comfortably on the desk as it moves up and down. No problem at all. FlexiSpot Christmas sale and New Year's sale is here. You can enjoy amazing 65% discounts on FlexiSpot products, including standing desks, Ogo chairs, and more. Use code YTE730 to get an extra $30 off your own E7 and E7 Pro standing desk. And don't miss out on the chance to win free orders during their holiday event. Check out their activity calendar for all the details. In Gen 1 Little Cup, no Pokemon are banned actually, but some have gotten close. The two who have gotten close are Dratini and Ponyta. You may be aware that in Gen 1 the move Wrap works very differently. In later generations, Wrap just provides a damage over time effect and traps the opponent, temporarily preventing them from switching. But in Gen 1 this is very different. In Gen 1 the move Wrap will completely prevent the opponent from acting when used. This is of course extremely powerful in competitive, and in Little Cup it was even more powerful. When everything is level 5, damage calculation works differently, and in general, moves just deal more damage here. So Wrap deals about twice as much damage as it normally would at level 100. Dratini was the best Pokemon at abusing Wrap because it has access to agility to enhance its speed and outrun everything, so it could simply agility and then spam a Wrap, which deals way more damage than it should and defeats everything with no real chance of counterplay because you can't act when being attacked by a Wrap. There are other moves that work like Wrap, including Fire Spin, and that's why Ponyta was also absurd in Gen 1 Little Cup. Ponyta also has agility and a high 90 base speed, so after one speed boost it could start spamming Fire Spin, which has the same effect as Wrap, with little to no counterplay whatsoever. Now they could have banned Ponyta and Dratini if they so chose, but instead they chose to target the root of the problem, which were these binding moves that prevent action, which are clearly unhealthy for the Little Cup format and prevent interactivity and counterplay. So that is what was banned rather than any Pokemon abusing this mechanic. In Generation 2, we see some of the first banned baby Pokemon in the series. Something that's interesting about Little Cup is that when a single stage Pokemon receives a new evolution in a later game, their status is updated from a fully evolved Pokemon to now the first stage of an evolution line. And that now makes them legal in Little Cup, and this can cause problems because Pokemon that were initially designed not as baby Pokemon but just as normal Pokemon are here amongst the children, and they are far more powerful. The most egregious example of this ever is probably that of Chansey in Generation 2. Chansey, of course, in Gen 1 is one of the best Pokemon in the game, and is not a baby Pokemon, it is fully evolved. But now, Blissey exists, and Blissey changes Chansey from a fully evolved Pokemon into a Little Cup eligible fella. Chansey has an incredibly high 250 base HP, one of the highest in the whole game. This is clearly far too powerful for the likes of Little Cup, where the competition includes Rattata, who has a 30 base HP. So the ban to Chansey is quite self-explanatory, I think. And another new problem for the Little Cup format emerged when Scyther gained Little Cup eligibility. Scyther was a fully evolved single-stage Pokemon in Gen 1, and in Gen 2, Scizor was released, making Scyther the first stage in its evolution line and therefore Little Cup eligible. Now tell me, do you view Scyther and Rattata as equals? Do you think that these are two beings on a level playing field, or do you think one of them might have a little bit of an advantage? Perhaps Scyther, with its 110 base attack and 105 base speed, should not be here. Perhaps it should not be here, and it is only here by technicality. Scyther Nation would disagree with me and push forth a legal argument defending Scyther's right to beat up children. I think, though, that Scyther should be banished. He should not be here, and is far too powerful for the Little Cup world. Chansey and Scyther are banned in every Little Cup format following this. And in fact, Chansey would later receive Happiny as a new baby form that would replace it in the Little Cup world, and be totally legal and fine. In Generation 3 Little Cup, there are far more examples of problematic baby Pokemon. And Gen 3 Little Cup has some pretty unique bans. This is a very different format to later Little Cups, because there is no Eviolite here. The Eviolite was introduced in Gen 5 and became a staple of Little Cup, providing this blanketed defensive boost. This being in the game makes it easier to defend against breaking power and boost sweepers, but without the Eviolite present in Gen 3, such things are more difficult to defend against. And one Pokemon that abuses this greatly is Meditite. Meditite is the baby version of Medicham, and this fella has the ability Pure Power, which doubles its attack stat. This is one of the strongest offensive abilities in the whole game, as it can also double the bonus stats granted to a Pokemon through EVs. The doubling effect is so strong that your base stats don't even really matter that much. Meditite has a 40 base attack, but thanks to Pure Power, it can achieve the highest attack stat in the Little Cup tier. Medicham in Gen 3 OU is famous for being perhaps the most widely threatening Pokemon in that format, so imagine how much more frightening Meditite would be among the level 5s. They all take more damage because they are only level 5. There is less defense in general down here, and Meditite with its incredibly high attack stat and the Fighting Ghost coverage combination, which is perfect coverage, there is simply no response to the onslaught of a Meditite. This little meditating child is an earth-shattering threat. You wouldn't think so at first glance, would you? Another banned delinquent in Gen 3 Little Cup is the controversial Omanite. Look at this terrifying creature. It's no surprise that this little fella's caused so much havoc. I mean, look at him. Look at those eyes. There is a void behind that gaze. I just know it. Omanite has a very good special attack for a baby Pokemon of base 90. And with the ability Swift Swim and the move Rain Dance to set rain on the field, Omanite receives double speed in the rain and a power boost to its water type attacks. And for a similar reason to Meditite, this is a bit overwhelming for the Gen 3 Little Cup environment. That high speed in the rain allows you to easily outrun the whole meta. You're also pretty bulky considering you have a high 100 base defense, which is good for a little baby. And the rain boosted water type damage is just a bit much for the format. Damage is higher here. There are no good special walls really. There's little defense against Omanite's rain-boosted onslaught, and so it is a banned Pokemon. The most terrifying delinquent introduced to Gen 3 is probably Wynaut. This is a rare case where this guy is banned in Little Cup and in OU. This is an uber Pokemon in Gen 3 and 4, can you believe it? Little Wynaut with a happy smile, hiding something sinister under the surface. Wynaut has the ability Shadow Tag, which can trap any Pokemon on the field, prevents them from switching completely. and this allows it to get guaranteed KOs against enemies. While its move pool is limited, just like its father Wobbuffet's, Encore allows it to, in some cases, completely PP stall an enemy until they have no resources left, and the combination of counter and mirror coat allows it to reflect damage back when taken. Destiny Bond can also earn one more KO after you've done this. It will cause you to trade with an enemy. If they knock you out, they also get knocked out. Why Not also has pretty impressive bulk compared to other babies. 95 base HP would be serviceable even on a fully evolved Pokemon. Its defenses are usually the drawback, but here in Little Cup, these are fine defensive stats, 48 in each. So very little could actually threaten Wynot that much. It survived one-hit KOs from almost everything and could then guaranteed trap and eliminate things, often trading up. I mean, if this was a problematic Pokemon, even in OU, it makes perfect sense that in the Little Cup, it would be even better when the competition is far, far inferior to it. And the final surprising delinquent of Gen 3 Little Cup? Zigzagoon. Who the hell would have thought that Zigzagoon could be banned, folks? Can you believe it? This one might actually be surprising to you, because if you look at Zigzagoon, even among other baby Pokemon, these stats are not fantastic. 30 base attack is really not very much. It's slow as well, and 38 base HP is quite atrocious, bulk-wise as well. But if you are familiar with Zigzagoon as I am, you know that his father is called Linoon. And Linoon's claim to fame is its unique access to the combination of Belly Drum, which is a boosting move that halves your HP and maxes out your attack, plus Extreme Speed, the strongest priority move in the game. A normal type attack with 80 power and a +1 priority on it. This unique combo gives Linoon some actual reason to exist in OU and some sweeping potential. Zigzagoon in Little Cup can do the exact same thing. It also has Belly Drum and Extreme Speed. It may have low attack, but if you pull off the Belly Drum boost, that's hardly an issue anymore, is it? Your attack is boosted to maximum and is more than high enough to pose a serious threat to things. Extreme Speed, being such an incredibly powerful stab, boosted priority move, means that most things in the game are going to just drop in a single hit to Extreme Speed. The Citrus Berry item heals a flat 20 HP in Gen 3, so after Belly Drum you just heal all the way back to full HP, which actually gives Zigzagoon a much higher chance to execute the Belly Drum. It kinda negates the drawback, doesn't it? Because you immediately heal off the damage you took. And with Shadow Ball and HP fighting for coverage, you can very easily deal with the switch-ins to normal type attacks, can't you? Shadow Ball hits ghosts, HP fighting hits steels and rocks. So Zigzagoon is near indestructible after pulling off a Belly Drum, which is actually not even that hard for it to do. This is really not surprising behavior from Zigzagoon if you know more about him. I mean, I spoke to him on my podcast, and he was very unpleasant. I can just say that. Not a very pleasant guest. Won't be having him back. Just an ugly and evil creature inside and out, really. Gen 4 introduced many new evolutions for older Pokemon, and therefore many new candidates for the Little Cup format. Misdreavus was one of them, who now has a new evolution, Mismagius. As far as single-stage Pokemon from past gens go, Misdreavus actually seems like it might be alright for the Little Cup format. Its stats are quite low. It has 85 special attack, special defense, and speed. These are good by Little Cup standards, but nothing insane like Chansey's stats or anything. So Misdreavus was legal in Gen 4 Little Cup for a while. It was not so overpowered that it got it instantly banned or anything, but over time people did realize that Misdreavus was a bit much for Gen 4 Little Cup. Misdreavus is an incredibly well-rounded Pokemon here, with good stats for Little Cup standards, the great ability Levitates, the strong ghost fighting coverage combination, and I think what really brought it all together was the option of Will-O-Wisp on Misdreavus's moveset. With access to Will-O-Wisp, it was very difficult to switch in on this and not feel threatened by it. Unlike previous generations, Gen 4 does have good special walls here. Munchlax is a top tier force in Gen 4 Little Cup, but Munchlax could not even 1v1 Misdreavus. A burned Munchlax deals significantly less damage, and Misdreavus, with its nice bulk, facing down a burned Munchlax would win the 1v1 actually. There's also Stunky, who has a great Poison Dark typing and is pretty effective against other special attackers, but not Misdreavus. Stunky is also incredibly vulnerable to getting burned, and would lose 1v1 to Misdreavus too. This is a poison dark type losing to a ghost type. I think that says a lot about Misdreavus' power. And these two were probably the best checks to Misdreavus in the format, and if they can't handle Misdreavus, little else can. Misdreavus also happened to have access to Shadow Sneak, and even though its attack stat is not as high as its special attack, Shadow Sneak is very useful here for revenge KOing things. Anything weak to Ghost that is fast, like Abra, doesn't like taking a Shadow Sneak, and it just enhances Misdreavus' usefulness in general. So despite seeming okay at first, uncharacteristically so for a former single-stage fella, over time people realized that Misdreavus was a little bit much for Gen 4 Little Cup, and it was banned as a result. Another new face in Little Cup was Yanma, formerly a single-stage Pokemon, now had the new evolution Yanmega. And Yanma was always pretty weak for a single-stage Pokemon too. Its stats are not that crazy. It does have a very good 95 base speed, which is one of the highest among Little Cup Pokemon in Gen 4, but the rest of its stats are mediocre. But Yanma proved difficult to deal with thanks to its incredible ability Speed Boost. Every single turn, Yanma receives +1 to its speed stat, and this is a format where speed control in the form of Choice Scarf is very important. Yanma being able to very easily outrun the whole metagame just by it being on the field and sitting there, when it's so fast already, was kind of a problem. It made it very difficult to bond to in Gen 4 Little Cup, which is a very offensive metagame. An important dynamic in the tier is bringing in a Choice Scarf Pokemon to force out a threat in front of you. Yanma bypasses this completely and kind of tears the metagame apart with its simple AS Slash and Bug Buzz stab options. 75 special attack is damn good considering how fast you can get. And Yanma even has access to Hypnosis to put things to sleep if it can't directly deal with them. A dangerous concept on something this fast. So Yanma was also banned from Gen 4 Little Cup. And then there was Sneasel. Sneasel received a new evolution in Gen 4 Weavile, who I'm sure you're familiar with, became a competitive staple in the future. But more importantly, for the topic at hand, now Sneasel was available to use in Little Cup. And this one is pretty obviously broken for the format. The standout stat here is the 115 speed, which is a good speed stat even among fully evolved Pokemon, so that is immediately a huge problem. And then 95 attack is also incredibly high for Little Cup. Gen 4 also introduced the physical special split, which enhanced Sneasel generally. This fellow is a dark ice type, two types that used to only be special. Now Sneasel has access to great physical moves, including the priority option Ice Shard, and Night Slash, and Ice Punch. I think it's pretty clear that Sneasel does not belong here and is a bit older than the other Little Cup entrants. You put this fella next to Torchic and it's clear that Torchic is a little baby while Sneasel is a bit older, making this an unfair matchup. Now Tangela might look like it would fit in Little Cup. It is very small and unassuming, but don't be fooled. Tangela was once a single-stage fully evolved Pokemon. It now has Tangrowth as part of its natural evolution. And Tangela, when you look at its stats, is clearly far too powerful for Little Cup, with its incredibly high 115 defense, which is good even among fully evolved Pokemon. And a 100 special attack is also extremely good. On top of this, Tangela has the ability Chlorophyll for double speed in the sun. 60 base speed may not be good among OU Pokemon, but in Little Cup, that is more than enough when doubled to outrun everything easily. Take advantage of your great special attack, and really tear apart the metagame single-handedly. Tangela does not belong here. And finally there is Murkrow, another former single-stage Pokemon, who received a lovely new evolution in Gen 4, Honchkrow. And Murkrow is another one that is very good for the standards of Little Cup, but was not immediately ban-worthy either. It existed in the format for a while, I believe. While it does not have the insane stats for Little Cup of something like Scyther or Sneasel, its stats are still very good, with 85 in both its attack and special attack, and a really excellent 91 speed. So this guy's fast, and has impressive damage output with mixed potential, making it pretty damn difficult to deal with and versatile. Doesn't help that Murkrow has access to Sucker Punch, so not even priority is going to stop it, because it's got this great priority move of its own. Sucker Punch has 80 power, is Dark-type physical. With priority on it, it only works if the enemy uses an attack, but that doesn't stop it from being an incredible move. Murkrow also has the move Pluck, which is uniquely good in Little Cup. This is a 60 power flying type physical attack, which is not great on its own, but Pluck will steal the opponent's berry and then eat it immediately. And this is really excellent in Little Cup because everything is running berries, especially the Oran berry for a flat base HP heal. Murkrow being able to bypass the berries is significant, and this also deals respectable damage at the same time. Plus, it could even heal you on the turn it's used, making Murkrow more difficult to deal with. Murkrow also has good special attacks like Dark Pulse and Heat Wave, and many different hidden power types to take advantage of. So, Murkrow over time proved problematic with its diversity, ability to bypass berries, which are important defensively in this generation, and difficulty in walling it because you don't know which physical or special attacking options it could have, making it really hard to respond to. Murkrow had criminal intent from the beginning, and we really should have acted sooner. You will not be stealing any more berries from Munchlax, Murkrow. Your time is over. Gen 5 Little Cup was a huge paradigm shift because the introduction of the new Eviolite item, which would go on to define the format more than any new addition, I think. The Eviolite allows not fully evolved Pokemon to have a bonus 1.5x to both of their defensive stats. And this changed everything. It really slowed the format down considerably, added some actual defensive backbone to teams, and was a bit of a blanket nerf to many of the overwhelming threats of the past. In some cases, though, the Eviolite was the ingredient that pushed certain Pokemon over the edge. Gligar back in Gen 4 was acceptable, even though it too was a former single stage Pokemon, with very impressive stats compared to other Little Cup fellas, especially that 105 defense. It was still a fine Pokemon in Gen 4 Little Cup. Its glaring times for weakness to ice was a point of targetability for it, as well as its weakness to water. Many Pokemon run Ice Punch for coverage already, so Gligar was also always threatened by one-hit KOs from common Pokemon all around, and Ice Shard being a common priority move also put Gligar in harm's way. But now Gligar has access to the Eviolite, and Gligar gets more out of the Eviolite than most other Pokemon in Little Cup, boosting that already incredibly high 105 defense to much higher levels, and also patching up its weak special defense stat by boosting that up too. With this incredibly enhanced bulk, all the coverage Gligar was under fire from in the past has become more manageable for it, and its strengths are feeling significantly enhanced. This pushed Gligar over the edge and patched up the things that made it manageable in the past. And it then got banned in Gen 5 Little Cup. Vulpix is a Pokemon that was formerly completely fine in Little Cup. In fact, it was kind of underwhelming. But in Gen 5, Vulpix received an absolutely astronomical buff. They granted Vulpix the ability Drought, and Drought is the ability of Groudon, for goodness sake. Drought will set permanent sun on the field, and to set permanent weather on the field is extremely good in metagame defining. Vulpix not only became more potent as a fire-type attacker itself thanks to access to Drought, but it enhanced fire types on the team and activated the ability Chlorophyll and the ability Harvest, making it extremely dominant in the metagame. Sun teams were everywhere. I mean, in the past, Sunny Day with Chlorophyll was already a great combo. Vulpix made those Chlorophyll Pokemon so much better by its sheer existence, and therefore Vulpix was banned from Gen 5 Little Cup due to this incredibly metagame warping ability that it was granted. And the final banned Pokemon in Gen 5 Little Cup is Scraggy, and this one is a new face, a newly released Pokemon in Gen 5. Scraggy may not have any particular stat that stands out as an outlier, but its stats are pretty good defensively for Little Cup. 70 defense and special defense is very good, and that's really the crux of what made Scraggy so powerful. 75 attack being serviceable as well, because Scraggy has the ability Shed Skin. Shed Skin is a pretty nice ability that grants a 33% chance at the end of each turn to cure your status. So with its respectable bulk and an Eviolite equipped, Scraggy could take advantage of its great option of Dragon Dance and just sit there boosting.
It's defensively strong enough to not get one-hit KO'd by much, and if it gets toxicked or thunderwaved or burned, there's a really solid chance that in just a couple turns, Shed Skin will activate and cure that status, so that doesn't really work in stopping Scraggy either. And in just a couple of turns, Scraggy will start getting out of control and boosting to the point of no return. Scraggy has access to Drain Punch, a perfect option to attack, taking advantage of its boosted attack while also healing itself all the way back up, making it even more difficult to respond to. And Scraggy has a pretty great physical move pool. Crunch is a nice form of dark stab. Ice Punch is pretty perfect coverage for the things that your stab combo can't hit. So there wasn't much in the way of stopping Scraggy. It could just sit there dragon dancing, you status it, that doesn't work, it's going to heal with Shed Skin. And very soon your entire team would perish. Scraggy was banned in Gen 5 Little Cup as a result of this. The difficulty in responding to its boost sweeping. In Gen 6 Little Cup for the first time, the item Berry Juice was legal to use in the format. Berry Juice was banned in Gen 4 and 5 for its incredibly high flat healing. This is an item that restores 20 points of HP when at half HP or less, which for most level 5 Pokemon is their entire HP bar. In Gen 6 Little Cup though, this changed because of the newly buffed knockoff, which made item removal more common and more widely distributed, and therefore the impact of a powerful item like the Berry Juice was less noticeable. But one Pokemon who was formerly completely manageable became ban-worthy thanks to its new access to this Berry Juice, and that is Drifloon, the Balloon Ghost Pokemon, who I'm quite fond of. A new stall Drifloon moveset propped up in Gen 6 Little Cup to take advantage of the combination of Berry Juice and the move Recycle. Recycle is a move that restores the item that you last consumed. So Drifloon could abuse Substitute, Recycle, and Berry Juice to constantly keep getting full heals, which is incredibly powerful. Drifloon would combine this with Will-O-Wisp to burn opponents, dealing damage to them over time, and repeatedly substituting and recycling the Berry Juice to stall turns and heal back until they slowly perished to the burn. What made this even more powerful on Drifloon in particular was its access to the ability Unburden. Unburden grants double speed on held item loss, so as soon as Drifloon consumes that Berry Juice the first time, it is outrunning the whole metagame easily by doubling its speed stat. That obviously makes this even stronger because your substitute will usually move first, therefore you are way better at stalling more things. Even Pawniard, who is a Dark Steel type that seems like it would be great against Drifloon, would lose 1v1 to this set, Will-O-Wisp halving their damage output and slowly burning them to death. The final move slot on this set was Acrobatics, which has double power if you have no held item, a great move in conjunction with Unburden and a consumable. Just a really strong flying type attack. Interesting how the new introduction of Berry Juice to the format led to this ridiculously broken and pretty much unbeatable Drifloon set. And the only other newly ban-worthy Pokemon in Gen 6 Little Cup was Swirlix, a new addition and the baby version of Slurpuff. We remember Zigzagoon, don't we, who used Belly Drum to great success? Well, Swirlix is like an even better version of Zigzagoon, because Swirlix has the combination of Belly Drum and Unburden. We just spoke about Unburden. It grants double speed on held item loss. So after Swirlix uses Belly Drum, it will heal immediately to full health with the Berry Juice, and be double speed, outrunning absolutely everything. So its base 48 attack is not even a problem. It maxes out its attack thanks to Belly Drum, outruns everything, and easily sweeps teams. It even has Thief to steal an item after having its Berry Juice consumed, which is actually really good not only as dark coverage, but anti-item technology too. You can even thief another enemy's Berry Juice and heal again if you like. Quite dastardly if you ask me, quite immoral, but certainly smart on the battlefield to eat the berry of the enemy for its nourishment. You can demonize Swirlix all you want for its crimes, but you can't say anything bad about the creature's high intellect, that's for certain. In Gen 7, the new Z-move mechanic was introduced, and this led to the formerly completely okay Pokemon Porygon becoming a broken monster in Gen 7 Little Cup. Porygon's move Conversion will change its type to match the type of the first move in its move set. Kind of like a primitive version of terrestrialization, isn't it? You can change your type to whatever you want. But this isn't that noteworthy. What makes this great is the special Z conversion, which you can utilize with a Normalium Z stone. And Z conversion will not only execute this type changing effect, but also boost all of your stats by +1, which is incredible. This combination of a type change and a all stat boost allowed Porygon to become an electric type, with Thunderbolt as its first move slot, granting it stab damage on Thunderbolt. And with the Thunderbolt Ice Beam coverage combination, plus a download boost as well from its ability Download, this thing was a complete monster. In a single turn it could sweep teams very easily in the Little Cup format. So Conversion Z turned Porygon into a ban-worthy Pokemon in Gen 7 Little Cup. The Pokemon Gothita was also banned in Gen 7 Little Cup. Remember Wynaut, who could trap enemies with Shadow Tag? Well, Gothita can do the same. It also has Shadow Tag, but it has way more options than Wynaut. Wynaut can only Encore the enemy, and reflect damage back to them with Counter and Mirror Code. Gothita, however, can fully set up with the move Calm Mind, boosting itself against a helpless opponent that's too passive to deal with it. With a Rest Sleep Talk combination, it can also heal off status and heal its own HP, taking advantage of the helpless enemy to boost up, keep itself healthy, and then sweep the game in some cases. Gothita can also use a Choice Scarf set, trick a Choice Scarf onto the enemy, and if that enemy happens to be locked into something that Gothita resists or can stomach, you can trap them that way too. Gothita's ability to trap passive enemies and take advantage of them like this was really metagame warping, and it meant that any passive set whatsoever was a complete liability against Gothita, who could just switch in and boost up all the way to max. So Gothita was banned from Gen 7 Little Cup. I will say though, I am a bit confused as to why Gothita was not banned in Gen 6 Little Cup as well, because it has all the same traits and can do much the same thing. Perhaps just its meta conditions, and Gothita has more common things it can trap and take advantage of in Gen 7 in particular. But it does seem like in Gen 6, this would be pretty much as good, so that's a bit confusing to me. Regardless though, in Gen 7, Gothita is a banned fellow. Cutie Fly is a new face in Gen 7, and this has got to be a shock to many. How could Cutie Fly be banned? What in the world are you talking about? This is a harmless little bug. Well, no folks. No, not at all. Cutie Fly, with its impressive speed, stat, and access to the elite boosting move Quiver Dance, was a monstrous sweeper. With its Stab Moonblast and complementary Psychic, plus a hidden power coverage option of choice, in a single turn Cutie Fly could outrun everything and start sweeping. It even has access to Roost, making it more effective at ramping up boosts and becoming indestructible with a form of healing as well. It's very similar to Volcarona actually, just in baby form. In the past, it would also abuse Sticky Web, which is a powerful option on something already so fast and threatening. But Sticky Web was banned outright in Gen 7 eventually. Even without the option of Sticky Web, the Quiver Dance sets were incredibly strong on Cutie Fly here. Another banned Gen 7 Little Cup Pokemon is Apom, Little Monkey. What are you doing, little monkey? What's up with you? Apom was a fine Pokemon in previous generations, a good one but manageable. But Apom received a subtle but significant buff in Gen 7 Little Cup, and that was access to the new option of Tail Slap. Apom has the ability Skill Link, which causes multi-hit attacks to always hit the maximum number of times. And in the past, it would use Fury Swipes alongside this for pretty solid damage. Fury Swipes has 18 power and 80 accuracy, but with the multi-hit damage, it ends up being a pretty strong move. Tail Slap is a little bit better than Fury Swipes, with 25 power and 85 accuracy. This may seem like a subtle difference, but it actually ends up being a pretty damn significant damage increase, especially in the world of Little Cup where everything is level 5, and a slight power increase actually has a way higher impact than you would think. With each individual hit of Tail Slap getting stronger, and that allowing Apom to now power through resistances and dedicated physical walls, this enhanced damage output pushed Apom over the edge into overpowered territory. It simply dealt too much damage and was too fast to really be manageable. Another newly banned Gen 7 Little Cup Pokemon is Trapinch. And Trapinch was legal for a while in Gen 7 before actually getting banned. And it's an interesting case because Trapinch is also legal in prior generations, but players of Gen 7 Little Cup felt that Trapinch was too effective as a trapper. It has the ability Arena Trap, which traps grounded enemies. And it also has an excellent 100 base attack, which is pretty above average for a baby Pokemon. And compared to other Pokemon in the format, its bulk is also not completely terrible. So it can switch directly into certain things and just trap and eliminate them. Notably Pawniard, you can just switch straight into Pawniard and Earthquake the thing. And also Onyx, you can switch right into Onyx and get rid of it. And this would allow teammates like Abra to be way more effective because you have this incredibly safe way to just switch right in and get rid of such a problematic matchup for your offensive threat. I do understand this one, and it's in line with much of Smogon philosophy, the anti-trapping sentiment in general. I guess this is another Gothita situation where I fail to understand why this isn't also banned in prior gens, because in Gen 6, the exact same dynamic can happen. Pawniard's common there, Trapinch comes right in and gets rid of it. Abra's present there too. I wonder why this fella is not banned in Gen 6 Little Cup. I know each generation has a separate community, a separate ethos. It's just interesting, isn't it? You'd think Trapinch would be exactly the same in Gen 6, wouldn't you? But perhaps there's nuance I'm missing there. Alolan Vulpix is a new face in Gen 7 as well. Pretty similar to Cantonian Vulpix with a weather setting ability of its own. Alolan Vulpix is able to set hail on the field. And there is one particular hail interaction that is very powerful in Little Cup, and that was with Aurora Veil. Aurora Veil is a support move that only works when hail is active, and it's basically Light Screen and Reflect combined into one move. For 5 turns, all damage to your allies is halved. This is really strong in Little Cup, as it is incredible at supporting boost sweepers, especially belly drum sweepers and calm mind sweepers and bulky ramping boost sweepers. It's kind of a similar thing to what has happened in Gen 9 in many cases, but in Gen 7 Little Cup, this was a particular problem as well, not to mention that Alolan Vulpix is itself a pretty powerful Pokemon with its accurate Blizzard, options like Freeze, Dry, and even Hypnosis, on top of the incredible Aurora Veil support. So Alolan Vulpix was deemed illegal by smart individuals. And the final ban that occurred in Gen 7 was to Wingull. Kind of a weird one, actually, because Wingull has been totally fine in previous generations. There was something that pushed Wingull further here, and that was its access to Hurricane Z. A Flyinium Z-boosted Hurricane is extremely powerful because Z moves do not check accuracy. And being a high base power attack, it is a perfect fit for a Z move. So that was a direct buff to Wingull that made it way stronger. At the same time though, Wingull only has 55 special attacks. So what was the problem here for Wingull? Well, people felt that the buffing of Wingull through Flyinium Z made it more reliable and worth running. And fighting Wingull outside of this Z move can feel like you're leaving the game up to chance a little bit. Because Wingull has a pretty good speed stat and an incredible offensive stab combination for the tier. Hurricane and Scald just hit a lot of things. And what's annoying about these moves is that even on resisted hits, they have a chance to cripple the enemy or introduce RNG into the equation because Scald can burn and Hurricane can confuse. So this was a case where buffing Wingull through Z moves made it more common and therefore introduced more variance to games because Wingull was clicking Hurricane and Scald more often and could cheese past the few things that could actually answer it. So the community just disliked what Wingull was doing to the game, and I feel they're making a mistake. They say it's bad luck to kill a seabird because they contain within them the souls of lost sailors. I don't know if you should have banned Wingull, and I think that you've introduced a curse upon the Smogon community forever in doing so. I would strongly advise that you retract this ban and say sorry to Wingull, or we are all doomed. You have been warned. In Gen 8 Little Cup, the ability Chlorophyll was banned from being used. Chlorophyll has a history of being problematic, and that has been tackled in various ways, banning particular Chlorophyll users like Tangela, banning Vulpix back in Gen 5. But in Gen 8 they banned Chlorophyll to eliminate the possibility of using it alongside Drought, or with Sunny Day to set sun manually. But as a result of the chlorophyll ban, Cherubi became completely illegal to use because Cherubi's only ability is chlorophyll. So it is banned by technicality. Does this innocuous-looking cherry character deserve to be jailed? That is for you to decide. That is not for me to decide. One of the most noteworthy and significant bans in Gen 8 Little Cup was to the Pokemon Ghastly, who has been a fine Pokemon in every single generation prior to this. Why would they go and ban Ghastly in Gen 8 Little Cup? Well, it's an interesting thing. The reason is because in Gen 8, Pursuit was removed from the game, and Pursuit is a dark-type physical attack that traps enemies as they're trying to switch out. Pursuit was a significant form of counterplay against ghosts, and it served to nerf ghosts in general, because they're always vulnerable to being Pursuit trapped, as they are weak to dark. In Little Cup, this was true too. Pawniard has always been common, and it used Pursuit, and there are many other Pursuit users too, like Stunky and such. So with Pursuit out of the game, Ghastly got so much better, and something keeping Ghastly in check was no longer here. Ghastly has always been a great Little Cup Pokemon with its very above average 100 base special attack, which is damn good for Little Cup. And so now with this significant option that kept it in check being removed completely, Ghastly felt like it had its true power unleashed and was very difficult to stop. I'm sure you're well aware of how good Ghost-type wall breakers got in Gen 8 OU, and even in Gen 9 OU this is still the case. So the same applied in Little Cup back in Gen 8, and Ghastly was the one to do it, the one to abuse such a mechanical shift. And so it was banned after many years of service. Thank you, Ghastly. Galarian Corsola is a new face in Gen 8 Little Cup. Regular Corsola did not receive an evolution in this generation, but Galarian Corsola did, and that was Cursola. So Corsola was Little Cup eligible, and it's probably not too surprising to hear that this was banned. As a mono ghost type with the incredible base 100 in both of its defenses, as well as an outstanding move pool with options like Recover, Will-O-Wisp, and Strength Sap, Galarian Corsola was too strong for this format defensively for very clear reasons. They went and they even banned Woobat here in Gen 8. And come on, what is your excuse here, Smogon? Look at this thing. Look at this harmless creature. There's no way that Woobat is ban-worthy. But no, you'd be surprised. Woobat got much better in Gen 8 thanks to the new teammate Grookey. Grookey is a little green monkey that can set grassy terrain on the field, and that allows Woobat to equip the Grassy Seed, which is an item that gets consumed in grassy terrain and boosts your defense by 1. Now you may be wondering, why would you run the Grassy Seed when Eviolite is right there and also boosts your defense plus your special defense? Well, this is because Woobat has the ability Simple, which doubles the amount received from stat stage changes. So it doesn't just receive 1 defense boost, it receives 2. Thanks to the Grassy Seed, which is significant. That is more defense than an Eviolite would grant, and also it is now resistant to Knock Off. Knock Off would remove its Eviolites and remove its bulk associated, but Grassy Seed is a consumable item that boosts the defense stat, so Knock Off won't get rid of that bulk. And since you're not holding an item, upon consuming the Grassy Seed, Knock Off deals less damage. This is fantastic on a Psychic-type Pokemon that would be vulnerable to Knock Off otherwise. Another reason this is great is because Woobat here gets Stored Power, a move that gains 20 base power for each stat boost. So that Grassy Seed stat boost immediately boosts the power of Stored Power by 40. Then you Calm Mind boost up, and that patches up your other side of the defensive spectrum, the special defense. Plus, it benefits from Simple. You're gaining 2 stats in each, plus 2 special attack and special defense. So with all this combined, Woobat became far more powerful than it ever had been before, with the Grookey teammate to push it over the edge. Damn it, Grookey, look what you've done here. Woobat is looking very pleased and proud of itself thanks to this new development, but this hubris wouldn't last long as it was quickly jailed for what it did. In Gen 8 they also went crazy and they went and banned Rufflet. Look at Rufflet, there's just no way. There's no way that this is ban-worthy. I could squish Rufflet, I could squash him. What have they done here? But I do think this one was justified too amazingly. Rufflet has always been a pretty good breaker in Little Cup. with its ability Hustle, granting 1.5x attack at the cost of an accuracy decrease, a 20% accuracy decrease. Even though this accuracy decrease is significant, Rufflet has a high 83 base attack and the great option of a Brave Bird for incredible high power damage. When boosted further by Hustle and a Choice Band, this is able to 2-hit KO even resistances. It's some of the highest sheer damage output you can achieve in Little Cup. But in Gen 8, Rufflet received a new moveset option that pushed it further over the edge, and that is the option of Close Combat. Beforehand, Rufflet relied on Superpower as fighting coverage, which was less spammable because Superpower lowers your attack every single time it's used. Close Combat does not, and therefore can 2-hit KO more things. It's just a better, more threatening move overall. Rufflet also has the fun option of Aerial Ace, which is a flying type attack with 60 power that can never miss. So this is able to actually bypass the downside of Hustle and hit anyway while still receiving the attack boost. That's a good way to counteract the Hustle drawback. And Rufflet could also run bulk up sets. So Rufflet's enhanced breaking power from the new option of Close Combat pushed it further in Gen 8 and led to it becoming a banned bird. And the final unique ban put forth in Gen 8 Little Cup was to Magby. And from what I understand, this was a bit of a controversial one. Magby has been fine in prior generations. And the reason players took issue with Magby in Gen 8 Little Cup was due to its belly drum set alongside light screen and reflect. With screens up and a light clay to extend the duration of screens, Magby could reliably boost with belly drum, heal itself, and then live incoming hits, making up for its fire typing, which leaves it open to ground and water, and rock type attacks, as well as its lower defenses. It's a bit hard for Magby to set up a belly drum without the support of screen, but with screens, Magby could belly drum up, and then it had Muck Punch and various coverage options, along with good speed to sweep from there. But the reason people took issue with this is because they thought perhaps light clay or screens themselves were more of the problem than Magby, because those were the things that enabled Magby to do what it did rather than its own inherent brokenness. And with its history of being fine in prior generations, some took issue with this ban. I can't quite say. I look at Magby and I can't make heads or tails of its moral character. It sort of has a confused look about it, like it doesn't know whether it itself is good or evil yet. Too young to have formed such a moral compass. I don't know how valuable my judgment is on Magby's character, but perhaps you can provide your insight in the comments as to whether this Magby detention was valid or invalid, and other things were the cause of Magby's domination. And now Gen 9 Little Cup is here, the current gen where many Pokemon received new evolutions, and therefore there were new Little Cup candidates. Let's get the most egregious one out of the way first. Duraludon, upon receiving the new evolution Archaludon, became legal to use in Little Cup, and I believe it was banned instantaneously before even setting foot in the format, because just look at the guy. This is clearly not a baby. This is a full-on building-based dragon that is very large and also has the stats of a fully evolved Pokemon, with 120 special attack in particular being insane, as well as great bulk, good speed. Clearly Duraludon was too powerful, and is not on equal footing with Rattata. We can see that at a glance, as did the community, so that was dealt with swiftly. There was also Dunsparce. Dunsparce received the new evolution Dunsparce in this generation, and now Dunsparce normal version, baby version, was a baby Pokemon. Dunsparce is sort of a little worm, so maybe it could be a Little Cup, but it does have the incredible 100 HP, pretty damn good defenses, and that dastardly Serene Grace Body Slam Headbutt combination, which understandably a bit much for Gen 9 Little Cup. So this former fully evolved wormy creature was sent to jail. There was also Basculin. Basculin received the new evolution Basculegion in Legends Arceus, so regular old Basculin was allowed. And I think it's also pretty clear to see why this was a bit much for Little Cup. Basculin has a very good 92 attack and 98 speed, much stronger and faster than the vast majority of little fellas. Even though it is a little looking fish, don't let that fool you, this is a frightening foe indeed. Especially because it has the ability adaptability to enhance its stab damage even further. So its damage output is more impressive even than its 92 attack would suggest already. Basculin clearly too powerful for Little Cup. There was also Quillfish Hisuian. The Hisuian variant of Quillfish in particular received an evolution over Quill, and Quillfish Hisui was left to think about the implications of Overquill's existence on it, as it was now a Little Cup candidate. Hisuian Quillfish is a little bit too powerful for the Little Cup world, with 95 attack, 85 speed, and 2 different amazing abilities, Swift Swim and Intimidate, plus the incredible Dark Poison typing. It's kind of like Stunky, who has been great historically, but it's even better than Stunky, with a better ability, better stats, better everything. And then there was also Sneasel Hisuian, a new variant of Sneasel Regular from Legends Arceus. And if Sneasel Regular is banned already, Sneasel Hisuian has the exact same stats as Sneasel Regular, or Jotonian Sneasel, I should say. So that one's obvious, isn't it? That one's obvious as well. And of course there was the Giraffe, a Pokemon clearly far too large for Little Cup. It received the new Farigiraffe evolution, and therefore weaseled its way into Little Cup temporarily before getting banned pretty quickly. Girafarig has very well-rounded stats for the Little Cup world. Good combination of bulk speed and offenses. It kind of has everything. And its move pool was really good too, with Nasty Plot, Calm Mind, Agility, Stored Power, these sorts of things, to make it a very straightforward and great boost sweeper. It could even abuse the new Terra mechanic for defensive merit plus Terra Blast as coverage. Terra was a significant shake-up for the Little Cup metagame in Gen 9, and it actually led to the formerly completely fine Pokemon Snivy being pushed over the edge into brokenness. Snivy is known for its access to the ability Contrary, which inverts stat stage changes, and is used excellently alongside Leaf Storm. Leaf Storm is an incredible 130 power special attack that lowers your special attack by 2 when used, but with Contrary that inverts, so it's all upside. I'm sure you're familiar with Superior using this in many generations. Snivy can do much the same. But Snivy was never ban-worthy in the past. Terra really pushed it over the edge here, as it could gain coverage with Terra Blast, more powerful than its previous option of hidden power that it relied on. Terra Blast has a higher power of 80, and also benefits from the bonus stab damage after terastallization. Not only this, but the defensive value of terastallizing also helped Snivy answer its checks. It's kind of interesting to compare this with Superior, because Superior has the same tools, but it actually feels like a liability that you need to Terra in or U to sweep with it. But down in LC, Terra Blast is so effective at powering through the checks that Snivy has that it just pushed it over the edge in this particular format. In Gen 9, the Pokemon Flittle is the baby version of Espathra. And Flittle can do the exact same thing Espathra did that made it ban-worthy down in Little Cup. Flittle, just like its Emu mother, is able to use Speed Boost to boost its speed every single turn, Calm Mind to boost its special attack and special defense, and then Stored Power with a Stab Boost on top to take advantage of all those boosts it's accruing. Terra Blast is the icing on the cake, allowing it to achieve coverage to defeat the few things that could actually answer it. The final banned Pokemon of Gen 9 Little Cup is Hisuian Voltorb, a new addition to the game from the Legends Arceus series. Hisuian Voltorb is the fastest thing in the metagame, or at least it was when it was legal, and it's a significant upgrade from its Cantonian version because of the Electric Grass dual typing. This crucially makes it an electric type neutral to ground, which is very valuable defensively, and it also gives it access to Stab Giga Drain, a crucial option to threaten ground types. With access to that Giga Drain and the high speed and Volt Switch and Thunderbolt, Hisuian Voltorb was kind of an auto-include fast pivot Pokemon. Volt Switch is just such a fantastic momentum generating move that deals damage while switching you out, and with Giga Drain to threaten the ground types that would stop Volt Switch from being spammed so much, it felt like Hisuian Voltorb was just a risk-free momentum generator that dominated the format to an unhealthy extent. It was also surprisingly bulky for how fast and threatening it was, and with static it could even spread paralysis around, which really didn't help. as its defensive entry points even earned you some value. And if anything could withstand Giga Drain, Terra Blast Ice allowed it to power through the few ground types that actually could stop its Electric Grass stab combo. So Hisuian Voltorb was deemed unhealthy and banned from the format as well. And that is every single ban in the history of Little Cup, folks. I think Little Cup is a great competitive format with a lot of variety present in it and some interesting stuff that you just don't see in other tiers. The fast pace of it and the often straightforward game plans make it pretty easy to pick up, but there's also still much nuance to Little Cup. Teams are intricate, gameplay requires deep metagame understanding. And looking through the ban list over the years, it is really fun to see what is uniquely broken in Little Cup, and sometimes it can look funny at first glance, like Woobat being banned, or Rufflet, or Gothita. Pokemon that look so harmless, that are actually completely game-breakingly insane in this particular world. What did you think of this little trip down Little Cup memory lane, folks? Do you agree or disagree with any of these ban decisions? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.